A land divided Ukraine's complex past. Ukraine, a country in Eastern Europe, has a history marked by both unity and division. For centuries, it has been a cultural and geographical crossroads. The region saw the rise of powerful empires, including the Kievan Rus. However, Ukraine also faced periods of foreign rule. Poland, Lithuania, Austria, Hungary, and Russia all held sway over parts of Ukraine. In 1991, Ukraine declared its independence from the collapsing Soviet Union. The legacy of Ukraine's past continues to shape its present. Revolution and annexation. 2014's tumultuous events. Protests erupted in Kiev, demanding change, known as the Euromaidan Revolution, sparked by Yanukovych's rejection of EU ties. He favored Russia, escalating protests. The government responded with violence. Security forces opened fire, killing dozens. Yanukovych fled to Russia. A new pro-Western government took power. Russia saw this as a threat and acted. Russian troops moved into Crimea. Russia annexed Crimea after a disputed referendum. The Donbas tinderbox, ethnic and political fault lines. The annexation of Crimea was just the beginning of the turmoil. In eastern Ukraine, particularly in the Donbas region, tensions exploded into armed conflict. The Donbas, known for its coal mining and heavy industry, has a significant ethnic Russian population. Many residents felt closer ties to Russia than to the new government in Kyiv. Separatist groups, backed by Russia, emerged in the Donbas. They declared independence from Ukraine, proclaiming the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic. The Ukrainian government launched a military operation to regain control of the region. The conflict in the Donbas quickly escalated into a proxy war. Russia provided military support, including weapons and troops, to the separatists. Ukraine, in turn, received assistance from Western countries. The United States and European Union imposed sanctions on Russia for its actions. The fighting in the Donbas has been brutal and protracted. Civilians have borne the brunt of the violence. Thousands have been killed, and millions have been displaced from their homes. The conflict has also had a devastating impact on the region's economy and infrastructure. The shadow of history: Russia's long game in Ukraine. To understand the roots of the conflict, examine Russia's historical relationship with Ukraine. For centuries, Russia has viewed Ukraine as vital. Ukraine's strategic location makes it a geopolitical prize. Putin emphasizes historical ties. He questions Ukraine's independence. Putin aims to restore Russia's glory. The annexation of Crimea and the conflict in Donbas are part of a strategy to undermine Ukraine's independence. The clash of East and West. At the heart of the Ukraine conflict lies a fundamental clash of visions. Russia seeks to maintain its influence over Ukraine. Ukraine desires closer ties with Europe and its democratic values. The Euromaidan Revolution showed this desire for a European future. Russia views the EU's expansion as a threat. The conflict is a battle of ideologies and visions for Ukraine's future. Section 6. The Information War. Propaganda and Public Opinion. The conflict in Ukraine is not only being fought on the battlefield, but also in the realm of information. Both sides have engaged in sophisticated propaganda campaigns to sway public opinion both domestically and internationally. Russia has been particularly adept at using state-controlled media to spread disinformation and shape the narrative. Russian media outlets have portrayed the Ukrainian government as illegitimate, fascist, and controlled by neo-Nazis. They have justified Russia's actions as necessary to protect Russian speakers in Ukraine from persecution. Ukraine and its Western allies have accused Russia of waging a hybrid war, combining military force with propaganda, cyber attacks, and economic pressure. The goal, they argue, is to destabilize Ukraine from within and undermine its sovereignty. The information war has had a profound impact on public perceptions of the conflict. It has made it difficult to discern truth from falsehood, fueling polarization and mistrust. The proliferation of fake news and social media manipulation has further exacerbated these challenges. Section 7. The International Dimension. Global powers take sides. The conflict in Ukraine has had far-reaching international implications. It has strained relations between Russia and the West, leading to a new era of geopolitical rivalry. The United States and its NATO allies have provided military and financial support to Ukraine, while imposing sanctions on Russia. The conflict has also exposed divisions within the international community. Some countries, particularly those with close ties to Russia, have been reluctant to condemn Russia's actions. Others have called for a more assertive response to Russian aggression. The Ukraine crisis has highlighted the challenges of maintaining international order in a multipolar world. It has raised questions about the effectiveness of international institutions, such as the United Nations, in resolving conflicts and upholding international law. The conflict has also had significant economic consequences. Sanctions have hurt the Russian economy, while the conflict has disrupted global energy markets. The crisis has underscored the interconnectedness of the global economy and the potential for regional conflicts to have far-reaching impacts. Section 8. The human cost. A nation in trauma. Beyond the geopolitical calculations and strategic considerations, it's essential to remember the human cost of the conflict in Ukraine. The war has had a devastating impact on the lives of millions of ordinary people. Thousands of civilians have been killed in the fighting. Millions have been forced to flee their homes, becoming internally displaced or seeking refuge in neighboring countries. The conflict has created a humanitarian crisis, with widespread displacement, trauma, and loss. The war has also had a profound psychological impact on the Ukrainian people. Living under the constant threat of violence has taken a toll on mental health. The trauma of war will continue to affect generations to come. The international community has a moral obligation to provide humanitarian assistance to those affected by the conflict. It's also crucial to support efforts to promote peace, reconciliation, and healing in Ukraine. Section 9. The path forward. Seeking peace in a time of war. As the conflict in Ukraine grinds on, the search for a peaceful resolution remains elusive. The path to peace is fraught with challenges, but it's essential to continue diplomatic efforts to end the violence and find a lasting solution. A sustainable peace agreement must address the root causes of the conflict, including Ukraine's security concerns, Russia's legitimate interests, and the aspirations of the people in eastern Ukraine. It requires dialogue, compromise, and a commitment to upholding international law. The international community has a crucial role to play in facilitating dialogue, providing mediation, and enforcing any agreements reached. It's also essential to address the humanitarian crisis and support Ukraine's reconstruction and recovery. The conflict in Ukraine is a tragedy for all involved. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and a commitment to peace. The international community must work together to find a peaceful resolution that respects Ukraine's sovereignty, protects the rights of all its citizens, and prevents further suffering.